All right, so let me introduce our special guest. We have Neal and we have Steve here from Graveside Paranormal.
Hello,
So
everyone.
welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us
Hi.
here.
Oh, thank you guys so much for coming on Ghostly. We are huge fans of Graveside Paranormal. Why don't you guys start off by telling us a little bit about yourselves?
Do you want me to start, Steve, or do you want to start?
Yeah, you start.
All right. Well, a lot of people ask me right in the beginning, they go, well, how did you get into paranormal? And I'd like to tell them the truth. When we do our tours and everything like that, I try to be completely open and honest. The reason why is because there's a lot of people out there who have had something happen in their lives, and they're a little afraid to talk about these things. So I kind of call it the GA, where it goes anonymous, where everybody almost like Alcoholics Anonymous or something like that. And what happens is we get it, so we start telling stories so people can start telling what's going on in their lives, and it actually does help them. My case was about when I was about 7 years of age. I grew up in the Mount Greenwood area, and
I know that area well.
Yeah, and it was on the south side of Chicago. It is on the south side of Chicago, and my mom and dad were going through like a really bad divorce at the time. My mom was raising two other boys, a total of three boys. And every night at 3 o'clock, always for some reason, 3 o'clock, she would start screaming up at about 3 o'clock every morning. And it started becoming like a clockwork, whereas almost like an alarm. So I would start waking up, and one night I just happened to wake up in my bed, and what I saw in the hallway was a small, like little demonic looking creature. Ooh. And I looked at it, and it looked at me, and then it looked into my mom's room, and then looked back at me and smiled. And then it proceeded into my mom's room, and then that's when she started screaming. Now, understand, I was only 7 years old when this happened. And so it wasn't that I was ever looking for paranormal. It just seemed to happen to find me. And after that, that's when I started questioning certain things in life. And as I got older, that's when I started reading about things, getting into things, listening to shows like Art Bell and stuff like that.
Love Art Bell.
20s. Oh, I love that guy. But that's what happened with me. And what I found out was they're called imps. They usually come in about threes, and they're a lower class demon. Demons are real. They are real, but they're not to the way Hollywoodizes it. But but they do exist. What happens is that when we're in our bad states in life, either through alcohol, drugs, depression, or whatever, we kind of open up a little door. And when we open up that doorway, it opens up just a little bit when it starts. But then throughout time, because you're going through this progression, it opens up more and more and more. And then that's when people are getting possessed. And certain things do happen like that. But that's how I started.
Wow. Okay, what about you, Steve?
Oh, no. Mostly I like to tinker around with stuff, electronics and stuff like that. And kind of funny how Neal and I hooked up and started this whole investigation. I've always been interested in the paranormal. I had some experiences in the past, and like everybody, dreams had come true, things like that. A lot of family history with that. But mostly, I like to build things, and I just felt compelled to build the first version of the spirit box that we use.
Yeah, and, I love it, by the way. That is amazing.
Coolest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a weird experience. It was like waking up at 3 a.m. and putting it together, and just being driven to do that. Got it together. My younger brother works with Neal, and my younger brother is way into the paranormal. And he was going to be house sitting for me. So I thought I'd build him this box. And there's plenty of cemeteries around our house, and he could go and mess with it. He thought it was pretty cool. And then I coincidentally met up with Neal when I came back from my trip. Neal was doing a little bus tour thing that he does, and my younger brother says, "Hey, Neal, check this out." And Neal's real skeptical, right? He's like, whatever. So I open up my trunk, turn on the box. Neal starts talking to it, starts answering him, like right off the bat, like
Wow.
Like, did I build this thing for him? Because it doesn't do that with me. And then we just sort of like said, what, Neal was pretty convinced right away. I think he started having a little conversation going there with I don't know, it was a while ago, but
Yeah.
You were asking questions and it was giving you answers that were relevant. It's kind of like conversational. And we decided to take it out. And I just sort of like been pulled into this a bit because of the building the box. And it's real interesting. Neal takes me to really cool places. And, and we have some, I've learned a lot working with Neal.
I've learned a lot watching his videos. So
yeah, there's stuff that I have been skeptical about and have some personal experiences where I'm like, that's not normal. That is paranormal. That is, I can't explain it. And I'm a pretty skeptical guy. Even
Good,
as
I
we
like
talk
you
about
already.
Even as we talk about the box, I'll probably pose a couple questions about what are we experiencing, and is it actually communication, or is it something more along the lines of what our brain is doing, how our brain might be interpreting what we're hearing. But we can get into that, and I think that's probably usually the direction we go when we talk about the spirit box.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I would love to talk about that.
Let's, if you want to, we can talk about that.
We can talk about that. Oh,
Yeah.
Maybe we should just start off with that then.
Sure.
Since we've already mentioned it. So, okay. So are you a musician? Did you have like this equipment on hand? Okay. Cause I noticed it's an amp. There's a guitar pedal. I'm assuming it's some kind of distortion pedal or of some kind.
Are you familiar with Steve Huff? Huff Paranormal. Okay.
Okay.
I watched a little bit of that and kind of listening to what he was doing and reverse engineered a bit from that. And then we built the Anahata, which is different than what you might see. But our first box was the chakra box. And it was, basically I kind of looked at what he was doing and thought, that's interesting. Let me build one. Tommy would like that. Tommy is my little brother. And, but it worked. At least
that's crazy.
At least it worked some of the times.
Okay.
When you get this guy, when you get Neal involved, it works. When we took it out to other places, and we met other people, and I think we'll get into that a little bit too, because we have some pretty cool videos where people have used our box and actually had what they felt were communication, some very convincing communication as well.
Definitely.
Answers that are intelligent and would be hard to be random, random answers from a spirit box.
Yeah, I was going to say, so we kind of embarked on this journey. It's almost 2 years. And so we've had some people talk to us about some of this equipment, but like, what's the philosophy, or how does like your spirit box works? Like I know, isn't there a thing where is it like it's like going through the radio dials or like whatever, like what's kind of the thought behind it? Like, what is it doing?
Right. So a lot like, spirit radio, where you have actual radio frequencies and you're flipping through the channels. With that, you'll get a lot of extra noise, white noise. And some of the thought has been that the communication can happen because of the white noise, not necessarily the voice coming over the radio. And so what we do is we go through IP radio stations. So we're going over the internet, and we don't have white noise. We just have clear audio coming through. And the guitar pedals are pretty handy because what they do is that we have, noise gate and so forth that we use to filter out. Yeah. And so we're able to really fine tune it where we hardly have anything coming through the amplifier.
It is so
and
clear.
It's not just an amplifier. It's a portal. That's what we'll call it. It's a portal. It's an amplifier, but it's more than that because of the stuff that we've done internally inside of the amplifier and the stuff that we have on the outside that enhance. We have crystals, we have copper that is good for conduction. We even have red rock from Sedona
That's what Neal was telling me too. And don't you have some sand from someplace or something as well?
Well, that's the crushed red rock sand.
Okay.
And then and then we have quartz, and we have electromagnetism, and we do our thing at the end. We pray, but it's the amplifier is a portal, and what it's meant to do is amplify via a portal using all these energies and the energy of the operator. So when Neal comes in and he's operating it, his energy for some reason helps us get intelligent answers. Will we get sometimes answers that are gibberish? Yeah, we get a ton of that. We get a lot of what we might call I call it garbage or noise. Because when we have to edit our videos, that's like, I got to go through all this.
That's one of the things is we got to go through a lot of those videos to figure out. And Steve actually has a really good ear when we're going through the audios on the Spirit Box, on the Anahata Spirit Portal. And he does a really good job with that. I mean, we both sit inside the office and we go through, and just to get like 3 words out of something, we might sit there for a half hour debating it. It's a long process when we're doing our videos and going through all this stuff, man. Especially
Didn't you say that you both have to agree on something in order for you to say that that's what they said?
Yes, it has to be an agreement, man. Wow. And like I said, we've actually argued about it. I mean, we have argued.
But
it just is what it is.
When you watch our videos, we put words up on our video of what we agreed on, what we heard. Now, some people watching our videos, they might have heard something else. What we would like is for folks to put that in the comments. People are shy; they don't put a lot of stuff in the comments.
I've
but we
noticed
welcome
that
you
too.
Only nice things, though. No, you can put some nice things.
And sometimes when you're hearing these things, it's like a form of pareidolia, where people are hearing what they want to hear. That's why, like we have people who are skeptics. I agree with you. Question everything. You should. But the thing is that when we're getting exactly intelligent answers, when I say, hey, can you fill in the blanks A, B, C, D, and then you hear E? Well, that's weird. If I say, when you're fill in the blanks, 1, 2, 3, and then you get 4.
Wow.
Why?
Well, not only that, when you do a prayer, in the video, in the video glimpses, finishes his prayer.
Right. In the beginning, we're at Mount Olivet Cemetery, okay? And in the beginning, we're putting it through test phase. And I'm doing a prayer, and it fills in the blanks.
Oh, my God.
And check it out. It's not a perfect thing. No, not by any means. But you're going to be surprised. Go ahead, Steve.
How about at the country house with Lynn?
Yeah.
The manager. So
before we get into the country house, though, let's tell them about the reverse, the mirror zones.
Okay. We were going to ask about that. So definitely.
Well, and here just to kind of put this in there too, Neal, is that what I want to know is like, what was it like for you the first time you used this box? Like, how was it different than other things like this that you've used before?
It's cooler.
Well, you want to know what the thing I like about it? And you want to know what the thing I like about it? It's not a knock at some of these products, but I hate that white noise.
Yeah.
I hate that. I see these guys, they have these, and we have them. We have the SB11, SB9, whatever the heck you call them. But you have them, and all you're hearing is this white noise, and I'm trying to figure out what it's saying. Seriously, I sometimes don't know. We do have them. We've used them, and they have done some cool things. I'm not knocking it. But the thing I like about the Anahata is when I'm asking certain questions, and it's not just me, what happens with the Anahata, you have to find yourself a good source of energy. You have a source of energy that's the Anahata box, but then you have to have a source of energy who is the operator. Other people can do this as well, but it matters how sensitive you are. We had in at Spirit Communication, Direct Spirit Communications, I think you guys seen that one, a lady by the name of Katrina.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I never met this lady. Okay. Never met her at all. We met at the well.
You can tell. In that video, you're surprised, Neal. You're like, what the? This lady just walks up and is having a full-on conversation. That's the first time somebody else walked up to the box and had that kind of contact.
Yeah.
Well,
we like to think of it as like Cerebro from the X-Men.
Yeah, there you go.
Xavier puts that thing on, man, and then everything just gets really nuts. But she was having a conversation with her mother-in-law.
Yeah.
And
she just walked up to it and started, right?
I'm thinking somebody's messing with me. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that somebody's messing with me or something.
I'm sorry. Tell us about the reverse, whatever.
The mirror zones.
Yeah. So reverse. This is how this started. This is, honest God truth, this is how it started. We took the Anahata box and the chakra box out to Bachelor's Grove. I believe that the path is the most haunted. It's not the cemetery. I believe.
Oh, I agree.
And
I think it's
the
woods.
The woods. Yeah. Well, you know what? I like on some of the shows that we've done, I explain it. I believe it's possessed land from people who basically made it possessed. What happens is it's the reverse of possession. But what happened was people came in there in the 50s and 60s, started coming in there with Ouija boards and stuff like that. Now you're opening up all these portals that you're not going to close because nobody's going to close them because nobody knows who the originator was. So what happens is eventually after time, the land got possessed. But it was probably also, there's a lot of things that are called ley lines underneath the earth. Sure. And there are a lot in the Illinois, Chicagoland area. But I won't get into that. So we'll get right back to the reverse. I'm sorry. Is that I noticed when we're asking questions, it sounds like a record that's going backwards.
Like an old Beatles album.
And you're going to notice the same thing in our video glimpses. That's the one at the end. I think it's like the last 8 minutes we're at Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. So I told Steve, I said, Steve, they're talking in reverse. He said, wow. He goes, wow. I said, let's take this back. So what we did is we took the audio from it. We put it in the Audacity. We reversed the reverse and ran it forward playing. And the answers that we were getting were like 3-word sentences, up to 3 to 4-word sentences, like Angel Michael, I had his training.
Right.
What?
Wow.
If you go see glimpses, you're gonna
I watched
like
it.
This.
It was
like, oh,
it was pretty amazing.
That is amazing.
Yeah. Definitely. That was really cool. And we were going to ask you about that because it was just it was mind-blowing that maybe some of this gibberish is not gibberish. Maybe it's actually that they can't speak to you very well. They speak backwards.
So that's what we caught on to, me and Steve. Yeah. And then we just started taking, and that, you'll see me in a lot of videos. I'll be like this, Steve, that's reverse, notate that. And I go notate because when we're reviewing a video, then it's always that I put up my finger and hit notate. So then we try to get as many as we can. One of the places that we had a lot of reverse was Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, but also a place called Whispers Estate in Indiana. That place was weird. That place was really weird.
Well,
actually, and the reason why we call them stones, by the way, is that this phenomenon of the reverse happens in particular places. So, like if we're at Bachelor's Grove, I don't like going to places where we have the reverse because it's a lot of editing time for me.
Oh, definitely. I'm the editor here, so I can. That's a pain in the butt.
So I don't like mirror zones for that reason.
Yeah,
I see.
But they are interesting.
So you guys have done investigations at Bachelor's Grove, at the Forge of Blue Island, Irish Legend. What other investigations have you done that really stand out for you guys?
Right now, the Sally House.
Sally House.
Awesome.
We just got back.
And where is that? I know the name, but
Kansas.
Kansas.
Yeah,
Okay.
Kansas.
Atchison.
Yeah, it was in Kansas. Why we did the story, the Sally House, because you remember the show Sightings?
Yes.
Back in the 90s, right?
I do remember that.
So it's always been something of interest to me. It's a story of a little girl that her mom brought her in because at the Sally House, a doctor lived there. And she was complaining of stomach pains. And the legendary story, and once again, I always say legendary story, but there's always an ounce of truth. And just like we're going to talk about the country house tonight. But the thing is that she went in there with an upset stomach. The doctor said that she had he needed to do an emergency appendix removal.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have anything appendicitis. He didn't have anything to have her go to sleep. So it was emergency surgery. He had the mother hold her down, and he cut her open, and she died on the table, supposedly.
Wow.
And the thing is that there's actual video out there of the Sallie house back from sightings, where this guy who lived in it in the 80s, him and his wife and his child, kept getting these scratch marks all over him. Like he would have his shirt off, and then all of a sudden scratch marks would start forming on his chest and his back.
Wow.
So we go there, and right off the bat, I'm getting this overwhelming feeling. Because when I was a kid, I did a lot of dumb things. I used to play with Ouija boards by myself.
Oh, and I did too,
really
yeah.
Bad idea. Yeah, it's a very bad idea. I don't know if you had the same kind of effect where you kind of have that feeling like something's coming in and you don't feel like yourself. There's almost like that feeling like you don't feel like yourself. Well, such as this thing at the Sallie house. What happens, there's these two large entities that are there. One's not as powerful, but the other one is really powerful. It's the most powerful one I ever had to go through. It enters inside you, but you have to be strong about what you do into yourself. And I'm not trying to soapbox religion or anything like that, but you have to be strong within yourself to be able to understand who you are and what that thing is, and don't let it get a hold of you. But there is something very real at the Sallie house.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay,
we should have out that documentary hopefully in the next month or two.
Cool. Awesome. I can't wait. So we started to, just like what will we do for every episode, I wanted to do the country house because I've had some weird feelings there. And I'm the skeptic. So, it's always been a place that I've thought about doing an episode about, and we were gathering our information. And I remembered this really cool video that I saw on YouTube. And I was like, well, I'm definitely going to check that out to see what happened. And they were doing a paranormal investigation. And it turned out it was you guys.
Yeah.
So can you tell us how you got to do this investigation at the country house?
Well, you know what I was doing is, as I always do, I research anything that is really in the generalized area because I don't like having to travel too far. And Chicagoland area has a lot of hauntings. So what I did was I called. Just like every investigator who wants to check out something, just ask. You're going to find out 8 times out of 10, people are going to be really, really welcoming to you. And but you're going to get your ones who are just going to, no, leave us alone.
Sure.
But majority of the time, I just make a phone call. I talk to the manager, the owner. And at the time, it was manager Lynn Banks. Mm-hmm. And we went there, and I told her what we were about. And this is honest to God truth. She said, she goes, I just did because I felt like something was just right about you guys. And I said, hey, I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. So I met with her. I brought my wife. I brought Steve, of course, and we did a preliminary investigation. And like the video shows, we go down to the basement, and we turn on the Anahata, and we start talking. And I for some reason, I just thought of the question because I know I put the card inside my wallet, and you can see it in the video.
Yeah.
I asked the question, what is the lady's name? Now, she just went upstairs because she's a manager. She has to take care of stuff. So she goes upstairs, and I asked the question, can you give us the name of the lady who just went upstairs? And it goes Lynn at first, and then it goes, we know Banks. And then I show Steve the card. And Steve's like this, and it was just an amazing thing. And that's what we're talking about with the Anahata is the intelligent answers to the intelligent questions that we give. That's the most important part. Anybody can get this gibberish saying 2, 4, 5, up, down, whatever. But once you start asking questions and holding a conversation, well, now you got something there.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, would you say, Steve, like, was that maybe a moment, or Neal too, like that you thought this is maybe going to be a special place? Like this is going to be a good investigation?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right.
I knew right off the bat, especially right after that. I said, man, the story itself just sounds really cool because it's not that much different. The way the place was built from the Irish legend. I just get that feeling and understand I'm a sensitive, but it's not like I get some overwhelming feeling. Oh my God, everybody, I'm feeling something. Oh my God, something's here, man.
Well, did you have a feeling when you walked in though?
Right.
Not really. I have to be honest with you.
Okay.
We've been at places where I didn't even think anything was going on. But here's the thing is, the evidence that you get after the investigation.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, like, take for instance, when we went to the Whispers estate, I walked in there and I was thinking, oh, this ain't nothing. But when we got home and we went through all the evidence, except for the door opening up, and it opened up on its own in the Whispers estate. It was crazy. That was freaky.
We were standing in that room together, and the door just opens itself. Neal's like, "Can you do something? Can you open the door?" And the door opened. It was like, "What the hell?" And those are heavy doors. Those stick. That's where my skeptic. When something happens like that, like the door opens, you're like, we start looking for like, how did they do this?
Yeah.
You know, where's the lever? Where's the switch? You know.
Yeah, because you can see in the next clip. In the next clip, I'm showing how heavy this door is. And you see it right after I go, stop. I go, Steve, stop. And I go, look at this door. It was it was an old, very old door. And there's no way someone pulled that with a string. There's just no way.
Yeah.
But
and the wind didn't do it either, right?
No. But back to the country house. Back to the country house is that we got it with Lynn Banks, and we got that name. And then I said, oh, yeah, we got to come back here. And you hear it at the end in the preliminary thing. I said, are you guys okay with us doing this? You hear yes.
Yeah.
And then you keep hearing, I go, all right, I'll talk to you later. Bye. You hear bye. We do not have somebody in a corner, in a truck, or anything like that. If you find him, let him know so I can whoop him.
So you know, when we take the box out to a place like the country house and we do that initial investigation and we get an intelligent answer like that and we go back and review and we notice that there's more than one thing that happened, we're like, okay, there's something here. Then we get an idea of what we're investigating, what we're getting into. That's why we do the preliminary with the Anahata.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's like a regular thing that you try to do is do like an initial.
Yes. It's not the only piece of equipment. Just so everybody knows, I know that in the country house,
we use more than that.
We used it a lot in there. Yes, that is very true. It's because it's not the only thing that we filmed. There's a lot of film that's out there, but if you do not get any evidence off the other equipment that you're using, go with what you can use. Yeah. And the thing is that we get always a lot of good replies from the Anahata box. We did get the EMF went off. We did get 2 EVPs. Okay. But if you don't have something, you will keep everybody there for a very long time, being very bored just looking at film.
Yeah.
How many cameras do we have? Like 7 or 8. We have 8 security cameras that we use in our investigations, and nobody wants to watch all that. No, but we did.
Pat we do. He's like, see, nothing.
Like,
there's nothing.
Okay, there you go.
There's nothing there.
Right. There's a lot of nothing in the investigations, and then there's the something, you know, and the something is really. We do catch quite a bit of that, and at the country house we had a bit of some things. I like the experiment that we did, Neal, where you put the little EMF meters on the stairs because of the story of the person who is seen walking up the stairs.
Yeah.
Yeah. The story goes just so you guys know, is that back, I think in the 60s, there was a police officer, for whatever reason, he was living in the second floor of the country house. And every night he would hear pounding on walls. He would hear footsteps going up and down the stairs. So now understand, we just go by the stories that we're told. We don't make them up. We just try to listen to them and try to clarify if these stories are real. Because every story that's told, whatever it is, even a legendary story, there's an ounce of truth to each and every one of these things. I'm telling you right now, there is an ounce of truth to these things. So sure enough, I put the EMF on the stairs in the country house. I put one of them. And you'll see in the video, it definitely does go off. Yeah. And the ones that I have, the ones for the stairs are very, you have to be.
Oh, I think we lost you there for a second, Neal.
And you know, it gets a little frustrating sometimes. I go, man, did I buy a good product or not? But it did go off in the country house, which was interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
You had told me, and both you guys have said that you guys were both kind of skeptics when you first started and stuff. Do you find that is a good thing when doing an investigation?
Well, Can I start first, Steve? If it's all right.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm like a complete skeptic. I'm a kind of a skeptic in all the machines.
Okay.
In the beginning, I've always believed in things.
Yeah.
Only because I've seen them. I've felt them. I do believe that there is a paranormal side. I do believe that there are supernatural things that go on. I've never been a skeptic on that. I've been a skeptic on some of these machines that are out there. That you just go, and I try to just bite my tongue and just go, all right, hey, man, good for you. You show what you have to have.
Yeah.
But when Steve showed me this, I actually walked away from him. And I was like, yeah, whatever, man. Come on, man. And
Never mind. Oh no, you froze, Neal.
He'll come back in a second, probably.
What's that?
You froze for a second.
Froze for a second.
Oh, okay.
You were about to say how great I am, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you how great you are. This man is so awesome. But go ahead, Steve. That's how I am. Skeptic with some of the machines, but I'm not skeptic on the whole paranormal idea. No.
Okay.
No, Neal's like our Fox Mulder. He wants to believe.
There you go. Good analogy. I like it. I get that then. So are you the Scully then?
Not as good looking. Yeah, but but yeah, I'm what he gets, I guess. I'm his Scully. Scully with a beard.
So no, do you come in truly being like, you got to show me, otherwise, or I don't really, even if I see it, I'm still not sure that this is true.
Well, that's why we do the preliminary.
Yeah.
Right. We do the preliminary, and then we go through the evidence. A lot of times, we'll go through the whole investigation, and I'll be like, that was kind of fun. I stayed up pretty late. And, we got locked in a bar overnight. That was cool. And then as we're going through the video and we're going through the EVPs, then that's where I'm like, where did that voice come from? I was there. I didn't hear that. We were recently, we did the Forge, and we heard the bathroom breather. That was a weird moment.
Bathroom breather, wow.
Yeah. So
bathroom breather.
So can we? Yeah. Can we explain this? I guess
we're going to need to.
Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you just brought it up. Yeah, of course. So what happened was I went to the Forge. I went to the Forge because I was told by a guy that, hey, Neal, you got to check this place out, the Forge. It's haunted, this and that. Now, I understand when people tell me these things, I go, all right, cool. And eventually I'll get to it. And I did eventually get to this place, the Forge. I went in there with one of our team members, Michelle, and I went to go use the washroom. And right off the bat, and my hand to God on this, is that I open up the bathroom door and I'm washing my hands, and all of a sudden I hear, help me. And it was a female's voice, and it's in my left ear. It's always my left ear, and I don't know why, but it is.
I try not to help people when they're in the bathroom, though.
That's the time to help somebody.
Nope. They can handle themselves, I think.
Share a square? Anybody want to spare a square?
No.
Yes.
But
wow.
that is him.
I was going to say, real quick, we actually had a listener mail. As you kind of mentioned earlier, Neal, it's like once you start opening the door for people to tell their stories, all of a sudden, the last few months we've been getting so many stories, but we had a bathroom haunting story. That was a listener mail.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
We did, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think it seems to be something that happens. I don't know.
And I get accused of... people have accused me of making fart jokes, so I really have to be careful with the bathroom humor. I try not to do too much. People get upset over bathroom etiquette, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, teach your own.
Well, we were at the Forge, and Neal and I had to go in and film the bathroom because he had that experience. And so we're in the bathroom with the lights out, with the night vision camera on, and I'm starting to hear, for the first time, an auditory of someone breathing in my ear. And I know it's not Neal because I know exactly where he is. We're hearing this, like this breathing. I'm like, what the hell? And we get back and start looking through the video, and we get like not only the breathing, but we had EVP captures as well, where there was voices in there that weren't our own. So in terms of being a skeptic,
and the thing is,
Steve, oh yeah,
I'm sorry, Steve. Let them know is that the thing is I'm sorry about that, guys, is that a guy hung himself in that area.
Hung himself near the bathroom.
Committed suicide in that area.
So did you know that before you went in?
Yes. No, not before I went in.
Okay.
I knew that after the fact of the first hearing helped me in my ear.
Okay.
And then we talked to Hank, the owner, and then he told us. And then upon investigation in that area, that's when we heard the breathing. And then we used also the SLS camera, and we caught a figure hanging in the area. And we also caught breathing. So it's weird. It's different.
It's weird. And so, like, just kind of back to the skeptic part, you know, you go in as a skeptic. It's a good investigation when you come out of it and you're like, that was an experience that I cannot explain. That happens quite a bit when we go somewhere and spend time like we do editing the video. A lot of what you capture in an investigation isn't until you go through everything. You know, it's not just the moment that you're there. It's the going through the video and going, what was that? And listening to audio and going, you know. But the bathroom breather was something that was like in the moment. I'm like, I heard that. But there's things that I didn't hear at the Forge that everybody else did.
Wow.
That down in the basement. So there was like this moment during the investigation. Everybody's hearing, like they said, like a music box or some sort of like noise. I can't hear a thing. And it's not until we got back and started looking at the video and listening to it with headphones on that I'm actually able to hear it. But everybody else could hear this thing like was it a woman crying, right? The it was, lady.
We call it, what we're doing is we're calling it the presenting ghost, where you
presenting
hear,
ghost.
And we caught it 3 times on our regular audio, and we were hearing it down in the basement. When you go to that video, you're going to hear it. But I know you guys want to talk about the country house, so please.
That's all right.
I'm sorry.
Well, I've definitely left an impression on you guys. But yeah, I was wondering, would you say, is there a certain location at the country house that you'd say is the most haunted?
Me personally, no. Hold on. You know what? Let me stop and say that again. Supposedly, other people get a feeling on that main floor when you go to eat. Now, Patrick's familiar where the eating area is.
Oh, yeah.
There's something about
a dozen times.
Right. There's something about the West End corner where people have gotten dizzy and they start feeling things. I didn't feel anything. I believe that there is something there. Yes. It's something intelligent. I don't know if there's residual haunting, but there's no particular place where I think it's more than any other. No.
Well, actually, that was going to be my next question, too, is that, so you're calling the ghost intelligent. Now, I know what this means, but we've never talked about this with our listeners before. So there is intelligent ghost. There is also residual.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
That was so improv-y, where you're like, I know what intelligent haunting means, but for the listeners that don't know what intelligent hauntings are.
So, all right, let's start out with residual haunting. Residual haunting is a haunting that's just a time haunting. It's something either traumatic or dramatic happens in a timeline. Now, sometimes it's based off of a thing called the stone tape theory. Stone tape theory is basically either quartz, water, crystals, sometimes blood, through a traumatic or dramatic thing that happens within a timeline. And what it does, it's like a recording in time. And that recording keeps going over and over and over again.
Like a loop, yeah.
Exactly. It happens, now understand, it happens at a certain time for a certain reason. Either through magnetism or something like that. But it definitely does happen. It's happened times, I believe, at the Irish Legend. I don't know if we never saw anything residual, and I do not have anything to base anything on residual at the country house. Now, an intelligent one could be something like where you're actually making communication, like you and I are talking right now. That's an intelligent conversation, yes? Okay, so that's an intelligent haunting. Now, understand, sometimes the intelligent hauntings is people like you and me in life. We all have a choice. Am I right or wrong? I have a choice to either be a bad guy or a good guy, right?
Every second.
Every second. So what happens is we all make choices. Some spirits, when they die, they choose not to go to the light. And it's a choice that they make. Either it be because they haven't finished something, or they're just happy and pleasant here. And so that's part of the intelligent haunting. They have the intelligence to go either here or there, or stay where they want to be. That's part of the intelligent haunting. I hope
So
that helps.
so they choose to be there then at that moment.
Maybe sometimes, yes. I'm saying
Yeah.
sometimes people make a choice even in death.
Okay.
Sometimes people don't know that they died. When we were talking about the traumatic and dramatic things that happened, like we were talking about the story of the girl who got into the car wreck. And once we get into that, I'll explain that better, unless you want me to explain that right now.
You can explain that right now. That's fine.
Tell the story. Your understanding of the story.
All right. So the legendary story, this is how the legendary story goes in the country house, is that there was this young girl with a child, okay, that went inside the bar of the country house, and she was in love with the bartender. And she asked him if he would watch her child. And he said no. She stormed out of the place, got into her car, went on 55th Street, drove down to it, and got into a car wreck and died. That's the story. Now, here's after doing research on this. After doing research, if you cannot find out a name of somebody, more than likely they did not exist. Once again, this is a legendary story. The true story to this, there was a guy by the name of Scott Helke, and I talked about it in the video. He sent me an email because we're researching it, and we're going through things to find out the truth. So what we do is we take the legendary story and we try to find what we can about the truth. And so Scott Helke sent me this email saying that, yeah, there was in about 1956, it was more towards the fall, early fall. And there was a lady who got into a car crash, and supposedly she was a nurse that lived in the neighborhood of Clarendon Hills. And people, when they came on all the emergency vehicles, the body was still in the car, okay? People saw a lady, though, leave the car and walk towards the front entrance of the country house and went inside.
Was she in white?
A guy who, what's that?
Was she in white?
I believe it was a lady in blue.
Lady in blue, so not a lady in white this time.
Dad loves the ladies in white.
Right. You know what? There's so many ladies in white in Chicago.
There is, yeah.
But the thing was is that she went inside, and one guy decided to follow in. And he did not find her, and he asked, hey, did you see this lady? Did you see this lady? No. When they went,
always the best part of the story. Oh, okay.
Now this is what happens, and it's up to you to decide. And we tell people you believe what you want to believe.
Sure.
There's a thing that's called astral projection, and astral projection can either happen a couple different ways. And the way it happened, supposedly with this one, we have an umbilical cord. When you're born, you have an umbilical cord, correct? So, and then that's cut. And then you live the life that you have here. So then the other one is supposed to be the umbilical cord to the soul. That umbilical cord, if you're going through something traumatic like a car crash, sometimes what happens, this is what I read, is that to cause you from any pain or anything like that, you are ejected, the soul, your essence, whatever, is ejected out of the body, and it snaps the umbilical cord. Now, some people don't know that they've gone over to the other side at first, and sometimes they get lost. Wow. And that's part of the things of what supposedly happens and things like that. And such as that thing of the Flight 529 that also happened 6 miles south from that place. 78 people died. So what happened is a lady from England, she came in, and one day, I think it was like in the 1990s, she said that this place here, the country house, by the way, has good burgers. They do have good burgers.
We have one in Geneva too, so.
Oh, damn. So what happened was they had an airplane crash 6 blocks south from country house. And could that also be the same thing that happens where they get ejected out of their bodies and they're lost? I believe that does happen, where the spirits just get lost and they don't know what's going on. And it does sound kind of weird. Well, time has gone by, and can't you think they'd figure it out yet? I don't know. I haven't been dead yet. So I don't know how exactly. I don't know exactly about stuff like that. I'm no expert in that. And that's what I try to tell people. There are no experts in this field. there's only good researchers. There, unless you die and you come back, you're not going to be able to tell me really what's going on. You can only research the things that you can find. So those are some of the stories. And so when we did the research on the girl, we never found out an identification on any girl. So that does not exist. And if the child did live, who is she?
Yeah.
Where is she living? Well, there's no identification for her either. Okay, so the bartender at the time, what was his name? Oh, you don't know?
No.
So once again, this is something that's
Right.
built on a legendary story that has some truth to it. And the truth is of this lady who did, because it was actually documented, witnessed by a guy by the name of Scott Helke, who lived there as a teenager, a young teenager. So that's partially the truth to that story.
Wow.
So, Steve, do you based on what you've seen, like, do you believe that like the intelligent versus the residual, like, or the story of this woman, like, does that ring true to you based on your investigation?
What I got from the investigation was that there was an intelligence that we were picking up on through the Anahata that was familiar with Lynn Banks. They were building something. We went back and looked at that and listened to the audio over and over again, so you hear like noises in the background and like they're building something. And so I don't know what that could have been historically with the building. It could have been an owner at some point. Could have been somebody that Lynn knew. Was it somebody that just observes Lynn and knows that she's the owner or the manager at this point? It knew who she was. And I don't really necessarily tie that to the Lady in Blue story. But there is something there. But I don't know if the legendary stories are tied to it. What I like to think, and there's no proof to this, it's just more of like maybe kind of a cool story, is if somehow that airplane crash and the victims of it, just like the victims of a car accident, might have just found their way to the country house. Is the country house on
the
land
burgers.
that...
Is it almost like something that they're drawn to it? Like once, like, there's some haunting there, then like more get drawn.
It could be ley line related. You know, it could be something in the land. It could be some sort of natural phenomenon with that section of land. It could be something that happened in the building at some point. I don't know the history in terms of any type of rituals that may have happened, but it could be a draw for the paranormal. And it could just be people who are there, like maybe you have an attachment, and maybe some people that work there have attachments, and that's what we're picking up on, you know.
Yeah, you know what you got to also realize is that the building was originally built in 1922 by the Coble family, and they owned it. And another thing that happens is built in 1922, and so we're talking over 100 years of age, and it's going to go through building changes. And supposedly spirits that are living in these things don't like that. That's one of the other theories is that you change something in a building, supposedly you do have some kind of effect that does happen.
Yeah,
so
kind of like the Winchester house
right,
she kept building and the ghost never came then.
Yeah, that story there, I'll tell you that story there, the Winchester one, that's very Hollywood, man.
It is.
I was like, I enjoyed it, but I was like, okay, buddy.
So I have a funny story from the Winchester house. I was there, and I had a friend, very old school guy, and I was like, I'm going to buy him a pocket knife from the Winchester house, and it was just one of those classic buck knives, and I gave it to him. And, it said Winchester on the package and everything like that. And I think it was even stamped Winchester on there. So I was really excited, thinking, man, I got him something from the Winchester house. And he called me up later that evening laughing. And I asked him, what's going on? And he said, you do realize that was made in China, right? So I could have just ordered it online for him or something like that. But
There you go.
yeah.
There you go. Nobody was whittling at the house with it. No.
No, that's, that was my vision of the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, you tried, Patrick. You tried.
I tried so hard.
But here's a couple other things. Is then there was a story of the custodian at the country house, and this is where the thing of the girl. Now here's where the problem is. You read some of the different articles that are put out about this girl that is seen near the jukebox, and jukebox goes off by itself, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And the custodian saw her. Some report a blue dressed lady, some report a red dressed lady. So there, once again, you're getting conflicting reports. So you don't know. When I talked to the guy, if I remember right, he said blue dress, because I did talk to the custodian, and he said that the jukebox did go off, and he said that that's what he witnessed. He said he saw a girl, he asked her to leave, and as she started to come closer, he noticed that her legs, he could not see the feet. Now what happens is, supposedly in some buildings, when they go through work or anything like that, and if like the floor was a little bit lower, that's what we're talking about, residual haunting, Patrick.
Wow.
Is that it's still on the same floor as the original timeline, whereas people have seen heads just going across the floor, because actually maybe the floor was 6 feet deeper before the reconstruction. So that could also be a residual haunting right there.
That's
so
interesting.
The lady, yeah. So they say that the jukebox kept going off like 3 times. He didn't know what it was. By the 3rd time he went out there, he saw the girl. At no time did we see a girl. We did ask the question many times, what's your name? Because you want to get an identification.
Yeah.
The weird thing is that we found this picture. Lynn Banks, the manager, found this picture, and you see it in the video of this little girl.
Yeah.
From nowhere, it just falls from the ceiling.
Wow.
And so we're trying to figure out who this is. You'll see in the video 3 times the name Sue or Susie.
Yeah.
We're not saying that's who that is. We're just putting it out there as, that's different.
Yeah.
And when I ask you, Susie, how old are you? You hear the little girl's voice that says 6 on the Anahata. Or
I thought it was 5.
Maybe it was
Yeah.
5. You're probably right. And she goes, she gives the age, and it has an intelligent answer. Sounds like a young female, and with the number. You don't know what to say about things like that when you see it. And then a couple other things is that then in 1974, the original guy, David, who bought the place, the country house, and they were going through rehabilitating the place, supposedly the shutters opened and closed. He was with the construction guy, and the shutters would open and close, and there was something else that happened, and he thought the construction guy was messing around. And so he said, I didn't do it. And David said, I didn't do it. And so they both left it at that, and they left the place. No shutters ever happened with us, because actually the way the windows are now, I believe they're all sealed. You've been into the place, and the windows look sealed to me. They don't look like they open. And that door, supposedly that back door that goes out to 55th Street, there was not a door there, I believe, at the time. Or it wasn't an exit door, something like that.
Gotcha.
But and then people have seen a young lady, up in the upper part of the window, on the 2nd floor, wooing people to come in to the place. We did not see anything like that. Of course, we're going to try. We're going to try, man. Some girl comes waving to me. I'm like, oh yeah. So,
Didn't we get we got some EVPs, right? Didn't Michelle get EVPs in the bathroom?
Actually, I wrote those down. Michelle went in there, and she asked the question, is anybody from the Flight 529 here? And of course, we get an EVP, yes. And then James, another one of our guys, he went into the basement area, and he's just talking and this and that, and you hear a male voice, I want to be like you. And it's a full sentence, I want to be like you. We've been actually very lucky in getting the things that we've gotten in the time that we've been doing this. I just think it's so amazing of the things, especially like Steve, who just created this thing. And it's odd. It's odd what happens when we get all together and these things just start happening.
Wow.
And you're listening to these digital tape recorders, and listening to them, and you hear a voice that you didn't hear when you were there. It's a different voice. It's not one of ours. And it's saying something like, I want to be like you. It's like, what the heck?
Maybe
Yeah.
he's a Michael Jordan fan.
Right.
Like Mike.
Oh,
Yeah.
I could
okay.
be like Mike.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's good.
My jokes take a little bit. So.
Steve, was there any evidence that didn't make the cut into the video that you heard?
Oh, I mean, there was stuff that we argued about, putting this together. Like we'll see something fly by. That was an orb. No, I don't know if it was an orb. I think it might have been dust,
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of stuff like that we're looking at. Sometimes we'll see a piece of dust that just like, it's like, what was that? And then sometimes we'll see something that we're pretty sure wasn't dust, but was it a bug?
Orbs are like one of the hardest things to figure out, man.
I hate orbs. I hate them.
I do too.
Hate them with a passion. So.
But when things are going here, like I'm going over security cameras right now from the Sally house, right? Mm-hmm. And what I'm seeing right now is because I believe there's a portal that goes from the basement all the way up to the second floor. And I'm seeing these things that are kind of like blinking, and they're going really slow, and they have a tail to it. My personal thing is sometimes when you see a tail on some of these things, you kind of go, what the heck is that thing? And it's just going so like slow. I mean, like, and then one of these things is like going into the wall, and it kind of looks like a splat form. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And so these are the things that I'm finding on some of the videos. And then I got to take it over to Steve, and we got to go through all of them. And hopefully we can define what we're actually seeing, because you can't put it on there just by yourself. Because if you do, you're going to look kind of stupid.
Well, I'm going to wait for the video to pass judgment, but orbs are not my favorite thing. So.
I'm going to tell you something, Patrick. I welcome you to do it. And understand when I do orbs, I try to do the best job I can on that one. Because I know everybody wants to see one. So I try to find the best case ones. And if I can, like we've actually caught where like you'll get like all of a sudden a blinking light in a wall. Yeah. And it goes on and off. And I'm like, I can't explain that. I can't explain that one. Like take, for instance, the Irish Legend. We were in the Irish Legend. When you go to the first 8 minutes of the Irish Legend, we're down in the basement area. We go into the crawl space, me and Tom, his brother. And we catch on the left side a face of a guy. It just all of a sudden, it's like a mist that happens. It pulls in,
like
and
some
a face
fog
comes
or something. And
yeah.
Wow.
Right.
Check it out. It's in the Irish Legend. It's like at about 8 minutes and something. And it's just when we're down in the crawl space. And it's
right.
I can't explain that one. I really can't.
My thing about orbs is that I've never seen a real connection that says orbs equal ghost. It could be anything. And even if it's energy, it doesn't necessarily mean it's paranormal energy, though. So that's where I have a difficult time with it, because I think we're assuming, a lot of times. I mean, maybe there are some times it is, but for the most part, I mean, like our friend Mondo, he captured something at the spot where the St. Valentine's Day massacre happened. And this thing danced around a lot, but we were outside. It was winter. There's a lot of different things that play into this, the reason why it's there. Like, I don't question that, okay, there is a light dancing around. I see that. I just question that equals a ghost. So.
I get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying. Some of the things that people believe is that sometimes in ghost form that they are orbs, right?
Yeah.
For whatever reason, that's a traditional thing. Back in the 1950s and 60s over in Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, that's how people started getting attention, or the place started getting attention because of bouncing blue orbs of light. Now, the thing is that back in the 1950s, they started saying, hey, no, those are the patrol cars back there, okay? Oh. That's what you're seeing. But back then, the Cook County patrol cars, their lights were red. They were not. So could it also be because of a foggy night, the moon's just right? Yeah, of course it can. Orbs are actually, yeah, you're absolutely right, dude. I don't know majority of the time if it's a real orb or not. And me and Steve, we sit there going, all right, man, if I call this, you're putting it out there that somebody's going to call and they're going to type in, Neal, you're an idiot. So, and that, and that's fine. And that's why I try to tell people, to each their own belief. It's not acceptable. If we all accepted every single thing that we all thought, then there'd be no questions.
Absolutely.
So you have to question things, man. And I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I have one more question. Sorry, Pat, it's not on our list, but I know. But going back to kind of something that you said at the beginning, that just stuck with me as you talked about your own personal experience, Neal, when you were a child, and you talked about demons being real and people being open to them when they go through dark experiences, and actually we have the interview with an exorcist. It's one of our previous episodes. He said a similar thing, and I just wondered, as you do these investigations, is that something that you run into? Is that still something that occurs? And actually, you too, Steve, if you've experienced anything that's more darker than just the kind of ghost experiences that you've been talking about tonight.
Yeah, at the Sally House. Definitely the Sally House. Yeah. There's something there. You do
the Irish legend. We have our Adam Stone.
Yeah, let's talk about the Irish legend for a second, Rebecca. Let me explain something. There's a story that someone made up many years ago about a little boy named Adam that's supposedly down in the basement of the Irish legend. So people run a story, just like we talk about, like Resurrection Mary, okay? And we could save that for another day, the whole Resurrection Mary thing. But a lot of these things are stories.
Yeah.
But what happens is they actually start taking on a life of themselves. So at first, when I started doing my tours, in the Chicagoland area, we would stop at the Irish Legend, and Cordia was really cool with us. She let us down in the basement and let us do a tour and all that. And what we would do is we would just start off with the SB7 and a REM pod. And we were getting some stuff. But then after a while, we start getting with the Anahata, a little boy's voice. And he would start telling us how old he is. When you go into the video of Irish Legend, right after you see that 8 minutes, then we go, hey, Adam, are you here? And it's in our commercials on what we do on our podcast. You hear, I'm sick. And I'm like, it's interesting. But what it is, to get to your question, is that sometimes they're malevolent spirits that take on the shape of a child so that you get invited in. And you don't feel so scared or nervous if it's a child, because you don't think a child's going to hurt you. So why don't that malevolent spirit become something that's more inviting for you to come into, see? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So what happens is, when I called it out as a malevolent spirit at the place, and I told everybody at the tour that day, I said, I don't believe this is a little boy down here. I believe it's a malevolent spirit. I messed up. Mm-hmm. The minute I said that, no more contact. I called it out. I called it out, and I said what it was, and now it would not talk to us. Every night, Fridays and Saturday nights, we were going there and we were talking with Adam. And we would get a boy's voice on the Anahata.
Yep. But as soon as you called it out.
The minute I call it out, we're done.
Wow.
So what I have to do now is I have to do it on the bus and explain to everybody before we get. So I always make sure I explain it on the bus. Mm-hmm. There is no little boy named Adam down in that basement. There is a malevolent spirit that is in the Irish Legend. There is more than one spirit inside the Irish Legend. Wow. It's a really cool place. I love that place too.
Right. And we had a similar thing happen at the Sally House.
I can't wait for this video.
It's exactly the same. Exactly the same.
And right. The little kid spirit may not be a little kid spirit.
Wow.
And here's the thing, Rebecca. I told Steve, I said, don't let me say that I go, don't let me do a stupid move, man. I go,
We
don't let
were
me
having all this activity, all this activity, and then
all
Neal
through the night up until about
says
11
it.
o'clock, right? All the way up to 11 o'clock. We do like one more Facebook Live for everybody, right? So they can see it. And I said something like, I think it's just a malevolent spirit. There's not no kid or anything like that. And then all of a sudden, now understand, our EMFs were in the yellow and the red all night long in every part of the room. And then all of a sudden, the minute I say that,
the anahata
everything
stuff,
stopped. EMFs go
everything.
green,
EMF goes,
That's
Okay,
crazy.
so I have one last question then.
Yeah, please.
And I always ask this. Where is the most haunted place you've ever been?
Right now, I would say Sally House, but actually Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, people don't realize it. It's not that something's going to come out and scare you like, ooh. It's the attachments. There's attachments that are there. And people don't understand. If you're a very weak-minded, weak-souled kind of person and you're walking through there, it's going to cling on to you. If you already have problems with depression, drugs, or alcohol, these things are real. They will cling on to you. And that's why I like, you have people who want to do tours at night in Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. Fine, good for you. I've actually thought about the idea. But I'm not lying to you when I say this. When we do the tours, we do it at Bachelor's Grove at night, but we do it at the back end, and we still, because there was a lot of land, it was farmland back in that day.
Yeah.
We still get activity back there. I actually have to go through, and I ain't lying to you, man. I go to church, and I have to say prayers because you can feel these things. Not everybody feels them, and I'm not trying to sound too dramatic about it, but it's just something that's very real with me. You start to feel not like yourself. You don't feel like going to the gym today and this and I'm someone who goes at least 5-6 days a week. And the thing is that I just don't feel like it. It drains you. It really does. That area there is a very real area.
Okay.
What about you, Steve? What do you say?
say your prayers after you're done.
Okay.
So Bachelor's Grove, the top of the list.
Yeah, Bachelor's Grove. Yeah, Sally House. Actually, Atchison, the town that
the whole
Sally
town
House
is haunted.
Okay.
I would say that whole town is probably the most haunted place I've been. We did an investigation at the hotel that we stayed at, and there's a sneak preview we'll be putting out of that. The hotel is haunted, and again, a little kid story. I don't think these are little kid ghosts. I think that there's something more going on, and but it's the whole town is haunted.
And where's that at?
You'll feel it. It's called Atchison, Kansas.
There's only
Kansas.
like 12.
Okay.
There's only like 1,200 people who live in the town,
Wow.
and they have like four different hauntings inside the town, and they have another haunting from a train. It's a very weird place. We're talking a very small town, and they have all this activity. I want to go again. People were really nice to us.
They're really
very
nice
to us. Like, I went in there and they were like, "Oh, we're so glad you came," and they gave me a 6-pack right off the bat.
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh, yeah,
So just so people know, that wasn't at the Sally House, right?
It was a 6-pack of soda. It was a 6-pack of soda.
Yeah,
root beer.
Root beer.
It was
Good root
but
beer.
very nicest people. Nicest people in the town. But there's still something off about it.
Wow.
And Mr. Sensitive Neal knows more about that. Yeah. But the box was very chatty, when we first started, and at the Sally House. And then when we brought it to the hotel, we were getting stuff. And I would say it's a toss-up. Atchison and Bachelor's Grove are probably the most haunted places.
Wow, that's crazy.
Wow.
Okay, gentlemen, I want to thank you both for coming on Ghostly. We had a lot of fun. You guys have a lot of knowledge, and I can't wait to get you guys back on again sometime. Where can our listeners find you guys?
All right, so they can go to Graveside Paranormal on YouTube, and on Friday nights on Facebook, on our Graveside Paranormal Facebook page, We start off the show every Friday night, and then what we do is we convert it over to our podcast and our YouTube channel. The podcast is Spirits by the Graveside. That'll come out every Saturday because we, just like you guys, got to convert it over. And then we do that. And we try to put a lot of things on YouTube. We try to, and we also have a website, www.gravesideparanormal.com.
Your website is awesome, by the way.
Oh, Steve built it. He's the man.
Oh,
He's the man.
Steve, you're awesome.
Thanks.
I'm a web designer, so I know that's a nice site there.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And that's not even what he does for a living. He's so happy right now that you said that.
No, I don't do websites. I'm in technology, but yeah, database stuff is what I focus on. But yeah, Good to know that the website looks good. We're on Spotify too. So our podcast is on Spotify.
All right. Well, we'll definitely put links in our show notes for you guys.
Yeah. Okay. So do you guys have anything going on that you think our listeners would be interested in?
Yes. So tomorrow night, I'm making an announcement, but I'll make it right here on the show right now. We are going to do a Halloween costume party at the Forge. It's going to be a Halloween costume party investigation. We are going to do scary stories at night. We are going to give people equipment. There's going to be food. There's going to be drink. And believe you me, I'm going to make it a very reasonable price. Because you know what? I want everybody to have fun. I'm all about FUN.
Is there prizes for the best costume?
What's that?
Is there prizes for the best costume?
We don't know yet. We don't know about that.
It's a secret. You're not going to tell us yet. That's what it is.
But tomorrow night on Graveside Paranormal, Spirits by the Graveside, we are going to announce it, but I did announce it with you first. On October 31st, full moon night on a Saturday night. You can't go wrong, man.
There you go.
That's awesome. Steve, what about you? Do you have anything to plug or anything?
No, I mean, basically what we're doing, Neal and I do this together. So,
all right.
Yep, we're going to have a party.
Now, I know I saw a comment on this. People want to buy one of your spirit boxes, but that doesn't seem possible, right? It's very homemade, very unique.
Maybe one day.
We've thought about it. We were thinking about making mini ones because the price is pretty expensive to build one.
Yeah.
Are you going to bring more dust back from Sedona? I mean,
no. There's a lot that goes into. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into building these. We are working on our version 2.0 for the Anahata. I got a little project going on. And hopefully we'll see that soon. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into building these things. It's sort of like a lightsaber. You kind of have to build your own.
I want a lightsaber now too. Jeez.
Analogy. Yes.
Can you make a lightsaber that talks to the dead?
Crystal, and then you can.
Do you imagine that?
It's like the Jedi of the paranormal. If you want to talk to the ghost, you got to build your own little device. But I think there is something to it. I think there's some. I don't want to get into like what gets me up at 3:00 in the morning. Which is not, a normal time for people to wake up and be inspired to do something, kind of like probably a bad hour to do it.
No, that's when you're supposed to see the imp.
Right.
Maybe the imp is waking you up to make this thing.
It could be the imp. It could be the imp. But that's when the inspiration comes, and I know how to put the brakes on that now. I didn't a couple of years ago, so now I'm sort of getting a little bit more. Able to steer that energy in the way that I want it to be. So, when you build these things, some things happen sometimes around the house. Your imagination probably goes a little wild, and and family members get a little spooked. So,
I could definitely imagine.
Thanksgiving. It's like, so what have you been working on?
I have the Anahata here, but it's locked up in a box with a crucifix on top of it, and we play very happy music through it before we put it away. So we clean it that way. Yeah.
Nice.
So.
Well, again, thank you guys so much for coming on.
Of course.